Okay, so we are continuing. I kind of forgot where I left off. I think I was questioning. Oh, the couple, right? The constable and his wife. It was our wedding anniversary, and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor, then the other scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Rolly and I both saw him as clear as day. Well, this is extremely... What? This is extremely compelling... Oh, I guess it's a typo. Or maybe it could work that way, it just doesn't sound right. Oh dear, this policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsume at the scene. If their testimony is true, the alternative course of events that you established in the summation examination will be quashed. It's death knell, in fact, because that alternative was never viable in the first place. What an unfortunate benchanting. And on your wedding anniversary, too. Oh, I know, but I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. I thank the Lord for that. Gosh, the life of a London Bobby sounds very hard indeed. Indeed, however, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon. What do you mean by that? My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under the oath that it was without doubt the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume. And one of these witnesses is a policeman, no less, so you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure. Except that the man's so tired, his wife has to do all the talking. Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense, commence the cross-examination, please. Yes, my lord. Two silhouettes? That's right, they were coming towards us, walking up Briar Road in the opposite direction. There was a rather plump figure, followed by a scrawny, thin-looking man. That does sound exactly like the victim as pictured in this print, and like Mr. Natsume. Is he tall? Like, he looks like, I mean, I guess he's slender, but that other guy looked tall. Yes, unfortunately it does. And you're certain that at the time there was nobody else nearby? Oh yes, quite certain. It was dark, but there are streetlights on Briar Road, you see. There was nobody else around at all. Isn't that right, my darling? What? Yes, that's right, of course. There was a light fog on the ground. But Briar Road is dead straight, and you could see a fairly long way down the pavement. And then there's the street lighting as well. I didn't see any other pedestrians. Before sleep takes a firm hold, your answer please, Mr. Beat. Are you quite sure of what you've just said? Yes, sir. As a copper who spends all day, every day keeping watch on the streets, I'd swear to it, sir. I'm as sure as my love for Patricia is true. They're still maintaining there was no one else other than the victim and the attacker. It's starting to seem like that must be how it really happened. It's beginning to seem like there's nowhere to run. Well, that didn't stop Mr. Natsume, did it? He fled the scene all too convincingly. Thank you. I believe we have a reasonably clear idea of the situation just before the incident now. What happened in the crucial moments that followed? Scattered something? What do you mean by that? Oh, well, I couldn't quite make out what it was at the time. But then when we got closer, we realized what it was. Didn't we, darling? Well, yes, that's right. It was some old books. I see. Old books. Yes, sir. The culprit had dropped a number of them, all around where the victim lay on the pavement. Indeed, as clearly pictured in this photographic print. That rotten Japanese man did that when he did the deed. Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker. But we saw him. It was the man in the dock without questions, sir. The mustache, the hunched back, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose, everything. Any more insults you want to throw in? That's right, he looked down at that poor, defenseless woman with those terrifying, intense eyes, and then suddenly threw his books onto the pavement and ran away. I see. This is tough. They seem as though they're telling the truth here. May I remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife? Now please continue. Yes, sir. But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you? We absolutely could. Us Londoners have exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know. Right. The light from the street lamps was more than enough, and my husband already told you that the fog was only light, didn't he? Yes, and what of the fog? We're famous for it across the globe, I believe, but it's an absolute menace to those of us who have to live with it, of course. Oh, it is. When it's thick, you can't even see the hand at the end of your own arm. Yes, alright, I take your point. Now, could you stop shaking your husband about? The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. That's why we can tell you for sure and certain that it was that little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling? What? Yes, it was the accused and no mistake. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat look. Okay, yeah. Unmistakable, sir. As far as this couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question. It was Soseki-san they saw running away from the scene of the crime. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony? What do you think? Well, I hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. Beat saw what they say they saw. Mr. Natsume running away from the scene on Briar Road that day. Yes, I feel the same. So if that's true, where does it leave us? The members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict after this testimony. Oh no, then what do we do? If Kazuma were here... What are you trying to say? I think he would try to find a contradiction somewhere else within their testimony. What do you mean somewhere else? Their statement about seeing Mr. Natsume is unequivocal. Calling that into question won't help. But if you could identify some other part of their testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them, to make the jury doubt if the pair's memory of the day is accurate. Oh, right. Put simply, we must focus on finding a discrepancy in these statements somewhere. If we don't, I'm afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion. Why do I always seem to be so up against it? Okay, so should I just press everything else? No time to change after work, you say. Are you also a member of the police, Mrs. Beat? Oh no, sadly not. It's a job for strapping young men only. Women, children, and the elderly can't even apply. Well, I think you could probably see why children and the elderly can't do the job, can't you? I think Rolly looks ever so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down to the ground, doesn't it, darling? What? Yeah, I just finished my beat. Pat and I were heading back to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there. Is he talking to us in his sleep? This is creepy. Oh no, Rolly, I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't recognize you when I see you in plain clothes. Oh dear, that doesn't seem healthy. Kindly adhere to the point. You were going for a meal after you had finished your beat for the day, correct? That's right, sir, yes. Although I was fit to drop, to be honest, after spending the whole day on my feet. But policing is my life, sir. As long as I'm the proud owner of this, I'll serve my city and my queen to the end. What's that now? My warrant card, sir. Proof that I'm a London copper. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it, as a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty to patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. Sir, and for such a noble cause, I cover 20 miles every single day without fail and without a grumble, because I know that the plodding of my boots is all Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure. So, fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it then. But, sir, just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. B puts up with a whole lot being married to a Bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. Oh, what a charming couple. Their young love is such a joy to behold. If a little over the top, perhaps? And then, kindly describe what happened next. Was it your husband who went to fetch help? No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I am the proud wife of one after all. Isn't that right, my darling? What? Yes, that's right. I asked Mrs. B to go. I was off duty by that point, but a Bobby's never truly off duty, of course, so I felt obliged to stay and guard the scene. Very laudable, Mr. Beat. Preserving the scene of a crime is a task of considerable importance. That's why I sent Patricia, you see. I told her where to find the right police box. Forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box? Depends on a crime's location, you see, as to who deals with it. Where the woman was stabbed wasn't actually on my beat, so I told Patricia the way to the police box for the beat, and for the beat the incident fell under, so she could go and report it. I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from the Bobby on duty. There's nothing more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know. And thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved. The actions of two model citizens. Oh, please, you're making us blush. Isn't he, darling? Yes, sir. What Patricia said, sir. Okay, let's move on. Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something? Oh, yes, of course. What is it? Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've told you, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony. Is that right? Is it? Well, out with it. What? No. Oh no, it's really not that at all. My husband's a policeman, remember? And I know what I saw. I remember every last detail. Everything. Like... Oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped? I could tell you the names of every single one I could. Every single one. And you dare to question how reliable my testimony is? That will do, Mrs. B. No, it won't do at all. That Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a minute that Rolly will. I really didn't mean to cause offense. Please put your husband's fist down. Perhaps you would like the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Mrs. B. Might that appease you? Oh, thank you, my lord. That would settle things nicely. Wouldn't it, darling? I could even tell you the names of the 4 books. Should we just 4 books? There's 3 books here, but I don't know. Maybe we'll just Yes, we know that there were books dropped at the crime scene, as you say. those purchased by the accused at the nearby secondhand bookshop on the day in question. After I'd been to the police box for help, I decided to have a good look over the area for good measure. I am a proud policeman's wife after all. I did it for Rowley. And what was your husband doing at the time? Oh, he was lying face down in the snow, getting some well-deserved rest. He works ever so hard, you know, ever so hard. Don't you, my darling? Interesting way of guarding the scene of the crime. Well, Mrs. Beat, seeing as you've regaled the court with tales of your powers of recollection, would you be so kind to recount the titles of the books you observed at the scene? I'd be happy to. Now, are you all listening? There was the picture of Monsieur somebody or other, and what's it, yearnings. Then there was a meal for someone, and the last one was definitely the thingamies something. You see? Yes, I see there are 1 or 2 holes in your memory. Oh well, they were all along those lines, I'm quite sure. There were indeed books found at the scene with titles along those lines, as you put it. Well, what did I tell you? So I think it's very mean the way you've been implying that my testimony can't be trusted. Don't you agree? Anyone who upsets my Patricia will have to have me to answer to. Boy, we actually brought it. He has his gun in the courtroom. Terrifying. Yes, she really is. Okay, I might have to present the books because there's 3 books, but I'm not quite sure. So let's just see. Maybe I should save. Oh, C4. I guess maybe either or would count. So you're saying that there were 4 books? That's right. I remember all of them. Yeah, the picture of Monsieur somebody, what's it, yearnings, a meal for someone, and the thingamies something. I'm sorry, Mrs. Beat, but there is a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours. Oh no, what flaw? Simply that at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4. What? This is the receipt from the bookshop where the defendant bought his books. Your books? Yes, and it details Mr. Natsume's purchases that day. But as you can see, only 3 books are listed. Only 3? But no, that can't be. I remember seeing them. There were 4 books, I tell you, 4 dirty old books. Oh really? Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. Oh, I guess both would work. As you can clearly see from this evidence as well, there were only 3 books. But I just don't believe it. I saw them there, I swear it, I saw them. No, madam, I'm afraid your powers of observation can't be relied upon. So it cannot be denied that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken. Oh no. Oh no. It's plainly evident that it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend. What cannot be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. A fact that you know very well you have no hope of disproving. So, you've striven to avert attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair? Oh, he sees right through me. But your plan has somewhat recoiled against you. What are you talking about? It's quite simple. Let me explain with a toast. To the policeman's wife and her entirely accurate testimony, in every respect. Oh. You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene on Briar Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found. But what about the photographic print? It only shows 3. Quite right. Only 3 can be seen in that print. That print? You mean to say... Allow me to present another, one that shows the victim's hand. I don't believe it. It's that 4th book. As you will observe, the 4th book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso. But it still doesn't explain, like, he bought 3 books. Then where did this mystery 4th book come from? Like, that's still, like, you can still question it. Like, oh, he literally bought 3 books. Like, it still doesn't add up. Like, where did he get... I mean, I don't know. Maybe he borrowed it. Maybe you could say, like, he borrowed it or something from somebody. There, you see, look at that. Look. Yes. It's just like I said, isn't it? Yes, sir. Patricia's always right, sir. Let us study the receipt for the books purchased by the accused on the day in question. Mrs. Beat, the titles once again, if you please. Oh yes, of course, the pictures of Monsieur somebody or other. The picture of Monsieur... yeah. What's it, yearnings? Canterbury yearnings. A meal for someone. A meal for... Why are they French? As the court has just heard, the witness remembers the book's titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Mrs. Beat's powers of recollection can only be described as exceptional. Did you hear that, Rolly? The gentleman paid me a compliment. Yes, sir. Flawless, sir. Patricia is flawless. But there are only 3 books on the receipt, and Mrs. B mentioned 4. There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly, the 4th book is that which is shown in this photographic print. I'm sorry, counsel, but does that not seem odd? Why should the 4th book be omitted from the receipt? It's not odd at all, my lord. As the photograph clearly shows, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim. Oh, okay. It shut me up. The victim was holding her own book? I wonder what became of that 4th book. Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence. You will submit that and the aforementioned photographic print to the court, please, counsel. My pleasure. The prosecution rests. I have nothing further to add. What? You seem surprised, my learned friend, but your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The spurious longer route to the accused's lodgings that you tried to establish in your summation examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination. Futile? I walked right into this, didn't I? You see, everything we've said is true. Isn't that right, my darling? Yes, Pat. Marry me, Pat. So, perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions. Should the court waste any more time on this Nipponi's travesty? Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? You have heard all the witnesses and seen all the evidence. This trial has run its course. Hey, I'm afraid we are in a terribly precarious position. I know, but if I fight back in the wrong way now, I could very well just make matters worse. What do? Probably raise an objection. Should I save? I will save and raise an objection. I'm not done yet. No, my learned friend, it's over. That last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense, and you failed. The die has been cast. There is no more room for debate. Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but... I can't think of what to say. If I may, Lord Van Zykes, it seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point. Your insignificant little Eastern Isle must be a lawless hole indeed, for a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this. Oh. I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you will have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable. One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance, so the court will hear you, madam. Go ahead, please. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further? Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished. I see. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you? What do you think? It's just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. And why don't we check it out, then? Oh, look at this. The book has been badly burnt. You're right. You'd never be able to read it in this state, especially not the latter pages. What a terrible waste. Judging from the scorched edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently. A book recently damaged by fire. Why does that seem to raise a red flag? Can you... I guess you don't really need to open the book. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why, so we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible. Yes, I understand. And thank you. This is it. She's managed to win us one last chance here. I can't let it go to waste. The defense wishes to present evidence. I will save! I will save! Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. Evidence that apparently offers a profound insight into this case and has hitherto been overlooked. Book. The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. The fourth book, found in the victim's hand. We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know. Yes, I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. When I afforded you this opportunity, you led the court to believe that the evidence in question contained a hitherto undiscovered clue. So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You will identify this clue at once. Do I make myself clear? Oh, yes. It's, I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence, which means you may very well be able to be on the right track. Yes, I think you might be right. So, counsel, precisely where is the vital clue in this case, which this fourth book conceals? The burnt bit in the back. I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question. The back? What do you... Good gracious. It's been burnt to a crisp. So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing. Unnatural, you say? And what of it, my Nipponi's friend? Oh, were I to concede the point, if it bears no relation to the case, there is nothing to discuss. So, should you wish to assert that this fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day, pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide? A charred book? There's just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, but worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory. Don't keep us waiting any longer then, Counsel. Explain this theory of yours. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage this Sarito has suffered? The owner. Right? That was the guy's book. My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth about the book's owner. I beg your pardon, but we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hand as she fell to the floor after all. It's obviously hers. The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, as to the questions of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers. Good gracious, how can you possibly? Very well, I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you if your little gamble goes awry. Counsel, the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. So tell the court, who do you claim is the owner of this book? This guy. The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb. The landlords. And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know. But of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs. Garadeb herself. Oh my goodness, me? I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mr. Garadeb's wife, I'm his maid. Things would be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Or whatever the word was. Is that how you spell that? Maybe it's a different word. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garadeb's house? I would never presume to know all of the books he keeps, sir. This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused landlady, you say? You implicate his hard-working member... Oh, this hard-working member of the public. You besmirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable. This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb's house. Good lord. What sort of incident, counsel? A fire, my lord. Ready to say it happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite book called The Lion's Pride. The Lion's Pride? By Jove, the very same title that's the subject of this debate. Oh dear me. This is... What the heck is risible? Whatever. All you told the court is that a book by the same name was involved in a fire, in which case it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself to the scene of the crime. I mean, she could have thrown it out the window and hit the poor woman, right? Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Garrideb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garrideb even amid the flames. Oh, how awful! I can't even imagine being so horrid to the one I love. Can you? Absolutely not, sir. My Patricia would never raise a finger against me, sir. Had all my favorite old novels in that case, but as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh! Up in smoke. Then the wife started hurling things at me. There was I, backed up against the window, under heavy enemy fire, incendiary books come 10 to the dozen. The man had his back up against the window, and he had burning books thrown at him? Goodness gracious, are you suggesting that the book was thrown through the window and landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime? No, a thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted the very evening of the incident, and there is no report of the Garrideb's window pane being broken. That's quite true. We also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Garrideb household. But is it not conceivable that the window was open at the time? Not even remotely. Let us not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter. Does the defense postulate the scenario in all seriousness, counsel? Do you earnestly claim that the book found at the scene was a flaming projectile thrown by Mr. Garrideb's wife? I believe it's a possibility, my lord. That's quite enough. Well, I hope that everyone can see for what you are now, you little foreign trickster. You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward, a mean coward. Really? Claiming that our little tiff set the whole neighborhood alight. Honestly, implying that I'm merely posing as a maid for appearance's sake. How could you? It's nothing to do with this beastly case, not any of it. All you've done is sully our family's name. What? No, I assure you that was never my intention. Dragging an upstanding citizen's name through the mud simply to divert attention from your failing defense. I should box your ears, that's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable. Too right. Oh, here we go. How long have we sat here now listening to this Nipponi spouting out his fancy foreign theories? But think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who could possibly have stabbed the victim is that little hunchback with the mustache, and he ran away, too. I do declare you're right. It's true. Yes, what did I tell you? Makes sense to me. Sorry, what's that? Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. What is your position, Lord Van Zykes? In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessarily... I feel these... Wait, what? I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. Oh, okay, I thought he said feelings. But then one must always exercise patience in order to savor the best vintage. No, wait. The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been... If books are your predilection, my learned friend, study them on your own time. What? No, forgive the discourtesy this time? Ahem. In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability for the court to hear. Yuzai!
Yuzai! Yuzai! Yuzai!
Yuzai! Yuzai!
Thank you for that unambiguous response. That's twice now. It's over. Hey, don't give up. Miss Susato, have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet. You're not suggesting. Of course, the defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. You could still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance. My lord, the defense asks to exercise its right to a summation examination. You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve? I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. This is no time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. God, these go on for so long. I mean, heck, I feel like they're all like that. Like they keep getting longer and longer as they go on.